Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany and it's weekend reading vlog time because, I don't know, just felt like vlogging. There's nothing super exciting going on this weekend, which is kind of nice because I've been really busy this week getting ready for some stuff. So it's Friday and tonight we have a prayer meeting at our church. Tomorrow my daughter's having a friend over, and then Sunday is just, normal church stuff. So that's pretty much it for this weekend as far as official plans. I mean, we'll see what else happens. Last time I didn't plan to come home with a hamster, so you just never know. So this weekend I am reading Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. I am about, I guess, a third, close to half of the way through. It's really funny because last time I vlogged I talked about Skyward, and now I'm reading Starsight. So far Starsight is not quite as enjoyable to me as Skyward. I think my biggest issue in the beginning is that there's a time jump of 6 months from the end of Skyward to the beginning of Starsight, and so we're getting a lot of information in the beginning that's literally just being info dumped on us. So it's like, well, in the past 6 months this happened because of this, and this, and I would have much rather like experienced that with the characters than had like a gap and then be like, and this is what happened. So, but that's just like a personal preference for me. In this book, Spensa is like no longer on her planet. She is going somewhere else, kind of like undercover, and that happens towards the beginning of the book, so it's not really a spoiler at all. So she's in a different place with lots of different like life forms and aliens that were not in the first book. So that's kind of interesting to kind of explore that. And Brandon Sanderson is like super creative in all the different like races that he has created. It's just really fascinating how he thought up all these things, and I feel like he's doing a decent job of explaining it so I can picture it and I don't feel like it's just like too much. The other book that I am reading right now is this chunker, not the whole book, I'm just kidding. I'm reading Northanger Abbey out of this book. And I'm hoping to finish both Starsight and Northanger Abbey this weekend, which is probably a lofty goal because I'm only like 10 chapters into Northanger Abbey. So I think I'm like maybe a third of the way into that one. It's not a super long novel. So, but the Middle Grade Magic readathon starts next week, and I think I was already supposed to have started Les Miserables and I haven't. So I am going to try to get some good reading in this weekend. I'm loving Northanger Abbey. I love Jane Austen's wit, and oh my gosh, I love the character of Mr. Tilney. He is just like, the banter between him and Catherine is so fun, and I really like him, and I really hate Mr. Thornton, which is obviously the point, but I feel like he's such a well-written character, and I feel like everyone knows a Mr. Thornton. I don't know if you have read Northanger Abbey that you know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, Mr. Thornton is a very conceited and just, I don't know, he brags all the time, and he's just ridiculous to the point where it's hilarious, but I also kind of want to punch him in the face. So yeah, I have to get some cleaning done here in a bit, but I think I'm gonna drink some coffee and read for a bit first because it's Friday and I just kind of like, I don't know, I just feel exhausted today. It's kind of been a busy week with a lot of running around and doing errands and that kind of stuff, so kind of ready for a chill reading day. My house is almost entirely box free, which is exciting. Almost all my picture frames are up. So yeah, it was an afternoon well spent. Claire's room is now completely done and box free. The living room, the back room, the library. I think there's one box in my room. And then I have a box of stuff to donate. So I'm doing pretty well. And I did a little reading with Claire. I forgot to mention that we were reading Thimble Summer by Elizabeth Enright, and we finished this afternoon, and it's just a really sweet book. I really love Elizabeth Enright's style of writing. She puts things in such a way that just like makes sense to kids and make you nostalgic for your childhood, and Claire and I laughed a whole lot when we were reading this. And then directly after, we started a new read aloud, Anne of Green Gables. I am pumped to be reading this with Claire. I feel like I have introduced Claire to most of the literary heroines of my youth, such as, you know, Mary Lennox from The Secret Garden, Sarah Crewe from The Little Princess, Heidi, Laura Ingalls Wilder. Like, I have introduced her to so many, and Anne is a new one. And I actually haven't read Anne of Green Gables since I was probably 12 or 13. So I was due for a read anyway, but it's exciting to introduce Anne to Claire for the first time. We only read the first chapter, so we haven't actually technically met Anne yet. But we've met Rachel Lynn, which, oh my word, Claire was cracking up at how nosy she is. And we met Marilla also. So yes, just been a joy to start this book with Claire. It's almost time for prayer meeting, so I'm gonna make some dinner, probably read a little Northanger Abbey, and then go to prayer meeting. I didn't like actually talk at all yesterday about books. I recorded some clips and stuff, but since Claire had a friend over, I don't know, it's weird to like record myself talking in front of people. I can do it with Claire, but I don't really like doing it in front of anybody else. So yeah, but it was a really nice day, and Claire's friend was here for a lot of the afternoon, and it was just a lot of fun. Claire and I have made some progress in Anne of Green Gables. She woke up this morning and the first thing she said to me before even good morning was, "Can we please read Anne of Green Gables?" So we read a couple of chapters before we got ready for church. I also finished Northanger Abbey last night before I fell asleep, and oh my goodness, I loved it so much. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, even though I love Jane Austen. I haven't read a lot of Jane Austen since like high school and college times. So I read Sense and Sensibility earlier this year, and it didn't quite like live up to how much I had loved it in high school. So I was hoping it would not be the same way with Northanger Abbey. I can't even decide what I love most about Northanger Abbey. I really love it all. Like, there are so many parts of it that are just wonderfully quotable. It's really funny. I love Catherine's character. She starts out just so naive and like trusting of people and believing the best of people, and that doesn't like truly change, but she kind of learns that you can't trust everybody, and not everybody is who they say they are. And she's also just very imaginative and dramatic, and makes some suppositions about people based on very funny things because she reads a lot of gothic horror novels, and so that like taints her imagination and how she sees the world. It's just really funny. I love the love interest, Henry Tilney. Oh my goodness, I love him so much. I think I love him because like he and Catherine remind me of me and my husband. When we first started dating, I was definitely like this person who always like believed the best of people, was very naive about the world in general and how things kind of worked. And was very just imaginative and dramatic at times. And my husband has always been very like practical and facts-based, and grounding for me in that. And I've always been a people pleaser, so like the scenes where Catherine is just kind of like freaking out because of how things are perceived, and then people are like fine and totally like forgive her and all that stuff, is just, it's relatable for me. My husband has always been that person that just grounds me in that and reminds me of truth. And yeah, and I just love their banter. It's just fun. And I love to hate the Thorpes, and by the end of the book I couldn't decide which one of them I disliked the most. It's definitely John in the beginning, but Isabella gives him a run for his money, you know? So yes, I'm just very thankful that I read it. It was just such a joy to read. Still working on Starsight, about halfway through now. It's been a little harder for me to get into than Skyward, but I am enjoying it, so I'm continue reading it. The person I was buddying reading with DNF'd it because I just couldn't get into it, so I'm definitely enjoying it a lot more than she was. But I think that when I first started it, I kind of like wasn't in a mood for sci-fi, and now I am a little bit more, so I'm enjoying it a little more. So yeah, we are about to go to church here in a little bit, and then my husband is planning on grilling for lunch. We bought a grill last week, and we haven't had a grill in like 3 or 4 years, so it's been really fun to be able to grill again. And I found out I'm like missing so much by having never grilled corn on the cob. It's like 10 times better than it would be normally, and it's so easy, and it cooks, I feel like, faster than just like how I was cooking it before. Kind of a gloomy day, might storm some more today, so it's a perfect day to get some more reading done. So it's Monday morning, and I totally did not record anymore yesterday. I took a really long nap. That was glorious. And then I recorded an upcoming video and then I read. So I really just didn't record very much. I only have about 100 pages left in Starsight, and it's really picking up and getting super duper interesting. So part of me is like, why was I having so much trouble getting into this in the beginning? So I'm wondering if it's partly just my mood, but then I'm also realizing the fact that like Spensa basically leaves her planet at the beginning of the book. We're then no longer interacting with like Jorgen and Cobb and Kimmelin and like all these people that I got really attached to. I'm glad Mbot and Doomslug are still in there. But that's pretty much it. And so we're adjusting to like a whole new cast of people. She's in a whole new like flight and everything, and so there's just all these different creatures and new things that were not in the old book at all, so it feels so separated from the first book. And I think that's why it took me a while to get into it. But after having read the Mistborn trilogy, I trust Brandon Sanderson to pull this all together in a way that like blows my mind. So I'm really into it now, and I kind of want to just keep reading. But we are going to a neighboring town to go to the Peddler's Mall, which is basically like an indoor flea market, and there's a booth there that sells like beautiful old books, and so I want to check that out and see if I can find anything good. And I thought I would take you along with me, so I'm extending this vlog by a day, so maybe I should just call it a long weekend vlog. I don't know, but anyways, I thought I would bring you along and you can come with me and see if we find anything. Well, we enjoyed our thrift shopping this afternoon, and then we went grocery shopping afterwards, which oddly enough we think is really fun when we do it together. I don't really like going by myself all that much. I know a lot of moms do, and that's like their escape time when they go by themselves, but I have more fun when I'm going with Peter and Claire, and Peter actually hates it when I go without him. So I thought I would share my book haul because I got a few books today. So we'll start with my husband's books. He really loves history books. So we got The Wright Brothers by David McCullough. So that was really cool. This was like a new booth at the Peddler's Mall. So like it wasn't there the last time we were there, which was only like probably like a week and a half ago. But yeah, my husband loves David McCullough and has read 1776 by him and is currently reading The Pioneers. So we were pretty excited to find this one for a really good price. And then the next book was 1491. So this is like a precursor to, you know, Columbus and his voyage. This is one my husband has been wanting to read for a while. And then I think there's another one that's, I think it's 1493, which is kind of like the aftermath of Columbus's expedition and stuff. So this one was like $3, which is a really good deal. And then lastly, this book was more expensive, but it is like a beautiful hardcover in like perfect condition, and it's this book about Frederick Douglass, which I almost bought from Book Outlet earlier this year, but the same book in hardcover I think was like $13 or something, and we got this one for $9, which normally I would not spend that much, but this is a book I had been wanting to get anyway, and it was a really excellent deal on it, especially since it's a hardcover and everything. I also found this book by S.E. Hinton. That was then, this is now. I've never heard of this book before, but she wrote The Outsiders, and I love that. That has been like one of my favorite books that I have read this year. I absolutely love The Outsiders. So I was excited to find this book. Hopefully it's as good as The Outsiders. We'll see. I don't know, but I was willing to give it a chance. I also found, this is like my exciting found. I found The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I read this, I think like a year and a half ago or something, and really loved it. And I was really pumped to find this copy that's like pretty much in like brand new condition. I was stoked. Also got some books for my daughter. I got this Survivors book. Erin Hunter, it's actually a collection of people that are writing under the pseudonym. They wrote these books about these warrior cats that my daughter was like obsessed with for a really long time. And then she also wrote this series called Survivors, which is about dogs rather than cats. So she was excited to find this. And then we also found book 8 of Guardians of Ga'Hoole, which we have been on the hunt for these. She had the first 7 books, and then we found book 8, so she was pretty excited about that. And I found this book, I think it's Brissinger by Christopher Paolini. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know. Hero Aragon, and that was the first book. I believe it's either a trilogy or a quartet, and I'm not sure. And I think this book is either book 3 or book 4, but again, I'm not really sure. I haven't read Aragon yet. I have book 1 that I got like for free, and then this one was only like 79 cents. So I decided I would go ahead and pick it up because why not at that price? My daughter really loves dragon books. I don't think she's quite ready for these because I think these kind of like border middle grade YA. I've talked to a few people about it that said that there were some scenes in it that were probably a little intense for those on the younger end of the middle grade spectrum, which my daughter is. So I'm not sure when she'll read these. I may read them before her. We'll see, but she loves fantasy and anything to do with dragons. So at some point, I'm sure she will pick these books up. And then the last book I got, I'm so pumped. I just mentioned that we recently read Thimble Summer, and I found this Saturdays by Elizabeth Enright. And this is the book that I had really been wanting to read by her. It's the first book in the Melendi Quartet, which is a book about a family who I believe has 4 children, and each book centers on a different child. So I have really wanted to read this. I've heard it's very similar in tone to The Moffats by Eleanor Estes, which we really liked. And this is, a lot of people have told me they like the Saturdays better. So I'm really looking forward to reading this at some point. As I mentioned, my daughter and I are reading Anne of Green Gables, but we did just read Thimble Summer right before that. So I get the feeling that the Saturdays will probably be our next read aloud unless we just continue right on to Anne of Avonlea. Forgot to mention this morning I started Tortured for Christ by Richard Wurmbrand. This book is excellent so far, and I'm only 1 chapter in. It is just, I need to read books like this every once in a while. This is about a man who was imprisoned for his faith by communists. He lived in Romania, and then like the Russians came and took over Romania, and then he was imprisoned because he refused to renounce his faith in Christ. He was in prison for 14 years. And I haven't really gotten to that part of the book yet where he's been arrested. It's more about his salvation and how he starts ministering to the Romanians and then the Russians after they take over, and how he's like led some of them to the Lord and all that kind of stuff. But this is a book that I need to read these kinds of books every once in a while. Not just because they're faith bolstering, although they are, but it reminds me kind of like what a spoiled Western Christian I am and a spoiled American I am, that I complain about things. And books like this like remind me that there is a much bigger picture out there and that I don't need to complain about so many things. It's really not worth it, and really complaining just makes you more miserable, not more happy. So I need books like this to remind me that I have a really good life and also to remind me to pray for the persecuted church over in countries that they're not allowed to be Christians, they're not allowed to share the gospel at all, and they're being tortured and imprisoned for their faith. If that was me in that situation, I would want my brothers and sisters all over the world to be praying for me. And so it reminds me and keeps that like fresh in my mind to be praying for people who are being persecuted for their faith. One thing that has really, well, there's a lot of things that have hit me about this book. I posted on Instagram this morning about it and like took a picture of all the notes I've taken from it already, and I'm only a chapter in. But there's one passage where he talks about the person who led him to the Lord and how he grew up in an atheist family, and he was very staunchly atheist and had read the Bible here and there out of curiosity, but just like really didn't believe there was a God or anything. And this person ended up, you know, sharing the Bible with him and giving him a Bible. And I just love this because it said, I'd read the Bible out of cultural interest many times before, but the Bible he gave me was another kind of Bible. As he told me afterward, he prayed for hours together with his wife for my conversion and that of my wife. The Bible he gave me was written not so much in words, but in the flames of love fired by his prayers. And then it talks about how he got saved after reading it, and it was beautiful and a wonderful reminder to me for how important intercession is, to pray for people, and what a difference that makes in their lives and in showing love to them. So yes, I'm only a chapter into this, and I would already highly recommend it to you, and I will be very surprised if it's not a 5-star read. I am not done with Starsight yet, but I have like less than 100 pages left, so I will probably finish it tonight. And I would love to just like share my reaction with you as I'm reading it, but this was supposed to be a 3-day vlog and I've already extended it a day. So I think I'm just gonna end the vlog here, and I guess you'll hear my final thoughts on Starsight in my mid-month wrap up. But Brandon Sanderson's doing some crazy things in this book. As always, thank you so very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe and chat with me in the comments down below. And I will see you again next time.